On America Can We Talk, I talk about election integrity, border security, healthcare freedom, race relations, energy and tax policy, education policy, free speech and assembly, freedom of religion, and all other issues that touch on the God-given right of every American to life, liberty, and the pursuit of their version of happiness. Stay tuned.
You preach your tolerance, but lecture me. Is there no end to your own hypocrisy? Your God is power, you have no shame. Your only interest is political gain. You hide your eyes and refuse to listen. You play your game.
Coming up next, America Can We Talk with your host, Debbie-Georgatos.
I've got a feeling that
And hello and welcome to America Can We Talk. I'm Debbie-Georgatos. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a very exciting and different kind of show today. And before I introduce our guest, who is in studio, I want to say a few thanks to people who make this show possible. One, I often mention our intro music is the most perfect music, perfect lyrics for this show. The song is called I'm America. It is sung by Krista Branch, whose husband wrote the lyrics and the music. She sings it. Look it up online. The words are exactly the message of this show. I'm America means that people who speak up, get involved, and are active in our political world, they're the ones that shape America's future. Also want to thank Real News PR, where I do this happy show, Real News Communication Network, and also thank my producer, Mackenzie Bolin, who is endlessly resourceful and last-minute flexible, and so is putting up with a whole bunch of new things we decided to do just today. So again, welcome to America Can We Talk. Today, what we're doing, we have a guest joining us who is actually a longtime family friend, and he has been my husband's business partner for many years. I've mentioned him numerous times during the show that we have a wonderful friend in Israel. They do kind of international startup type things, and our friend and our guest today, Eduardo Shoval, lives in Israel. He's been here in America on an extended trip, kind of a business trip plus other things, and has been staying at our home with us for the past 10 days or so. And we talk a lot about Israel, and we talk about, the formation of Israel, the history of Israel, and of course current events and what's happening. Obviously, we spoke with him shortly after October 7th to make sure his family was safe and okay. We talk about, he's a very deep thinker politically as well as spiritually. So we talk about faith. He is a devout follower of Judaism. We are devout Christians. We have beautiful talks about faith and God. We also talk about the world and politics. And it occurred to me while he was here visiting that it'd be a great chance to share with you, our listeners, some of what he understands about Israel that I really don't. I've been blessed to travel to Israel twice. My husband's been there many times, mostly for business trips, but we've also traveled around Israel. And for those of you who have traveled to Israel, you do understand, I'm sure, what a unique and extraordinary place it is. So with that, I want to first ask Mackenzie, can you put in this screen that I'm looking at, can you have the same thing on both screens so we're looking at, I know you're going to put up the slides in just a moment, but can I in that screen? We can, okay, there we go. Otherwise, I lose track of where we are. So part of what happened was we were with Eduardo, our family friend, over dinner or a few days ago, and I said, maybe join me on the show and talk about Israel. So in that period of time, we've gone back and forth about what to talk about, and fortunately for today, in talking about what would be really helpful to share with people in America who maybe haven't had the opportunity to study Islam or the history of Israel and understand what's happening with Islamic countries surrounding Israel. So what we're going to hit on is what life is like in Israel currently, and that certainly will involve talking about October 7th and briefly talk about what happened October 7th, and really what life is like in Israel when you are physically surrounded, and I showed the map many times in the show before, you're physically surrounded by Muslim majority countries whose primary mission in life is to eliminate Israel. And they know it, and Israel knows it, and most of the world knows it, so that's what they deal with every day. We're going to talk about what goes on in Gaza. I called it the Gaza myth, but what's occurring in Gaza, and also just some population trends I think will surprise you because they're very contrary to what was portrayed by mainstream media. So after a very long introduction, I will happily introduce and welcome to the show our good friend Eduardo Shoval.
Hi.
Hi, Eduardo. Good to see you, sir. Did
Good
you
to
think I was
see
never going to stop talking?
No, well, I said, well, you invite me to listen to you.
Hey.
Well. I'm also, you forgot to mention that the World Cup is in
Oh.
Dallas too. And although I live in Israel for 55 years, but I was born in Argentina. I'm an Argentina fan. And I was lucky and blessed to be able to see Messi score 5 times during the last 2
So
games.
we're hitting the most important topic first.
Yeah.
Sports. Clearly, I did forget to say that, but actually, it is a kind of cool thing because you're a native Argentinian and they are great, of course, at soccer. So during this time visiting America, was able to see the game in. I'm keeping afraid where it was.
Kansas City.
Kansas City,
And
with his adult son, who's currently living in New York, but as part of his job. And then you saw a game the other day in Texas.
And now we're waiting for Saturday night to see another game. So
You're
that's
right.
good. That's good. So let's share first what I shared with your friends a few nights ago, dinner, about what was to live or what is to live in Israel in the last few years. Although we also knew that it's scared in the neighborhood we live, it's dangerous. But like normal people, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you try to not to think about how dangerous the situation. It's like we drive in our cars and we don't think we will have a car accident. But October 7, I wake up with the alarm very early in the morning, and thought it's another alarm like we have from time to time. There are missiles coming to Israel for probably the last 20 years, and we got used to that situation, which is not normal. But and I don't think that any normal country or people will really accept that reality. And it was a reality in which we. Every few years we react to that, but we keep defending ourselves, but not really taking action. Although the situation wasn't so good during all these years. But October 7th was completely different. It's in Jewish point of view, it's probably the worst day the Jewish people have since the Holocaust. And during the Holocaust, nobody defended us, but we have the Israel Defense Force, so we never thought that something like this could happen, but it happened. And very soon I will have my 2 sons and my son-in-law going to the reserve, what we call Miluim in Israel, to the reserve, and then meaning that the wife remain at home with children. And we have alarms all the time. I'm glad that I have a shelter at home, so I can go to my shelter. I don't have to go to a public shelter. But my neighbors don't have shelter, so many times during these long weeks and months, I find myself, with my pajama at midnight, sharing the room with my neighbors. And it was tough, just like my daughter mentioned to me, on the most dangerous day in my life, in my town, all the men left the town, and women and children remain in the town, and when they're scared that something like what happened in Gaza or around Gaza could happen to them. So we live a very, very new normality, which is, on one hand, there's a war and people die and people are wounded. On the other hand, we have to keep the normal life, the ongoing life. That's it. It's not simple.
Yeah, I want to jump in for people, if you're just tuning in. First of all, I don't know if you're able, Mackenzie, to keep Eduardo's Chiron up while he's up, because some guests on my show, everyone goes, oh, I know that guy, but when he's up, I love his Chiron, if you can. And the next thing I want to mention is, so we have a gentleman who's here who lives in Israel, grew up in Argentina, moved to Israel when he was 17 or 18, has lived there most of his adult life since that time, and was in Israel on October 7th, and when the horrible attack occurred. And I was just, as you trying to Google that question. So October 7th, it was not the first time that Israel had been attacked by some of your surrounding neighbor countries, but it was the most horrific and massive attack and unexpected and violent. So I did a quick look on my phone. There's about 1,200 people killed in Israel on October 7th, 2023. So we're coming up on the third anniversary of that. 1,200 people, and honestly, we didn't ever on this show play the videos. There are videos out that show the extraordinary, grotesque brutality. These are not just how many people did you happen to hit when you dropped a bomb, or shooting off guns or shooting off missiles. This is hand-to-hand, violent, grotesque, unspeakable violence. And I think that matters in understanding how it makes people feel who live in Israel, people who live there and continue to live there. So that's a piece of it I wanted to mention. So even before October 7th happened, you're surrounded by countries that don't like you. So I think we now have a quick map on, put a map up and show just because people lose track of what Israel is like. So there's a big map over there if that helps people see it. But Israel is it as big as Rhode Island? Is that what it is? It's about New Jersey. As big as New Jersey, so it's a tiny country. New Jersey, we in America, it's a tiny country. But look at the countries that surround, can you zoom in on that at all? But countries that surround Israel. You have, and actually, why don't you tell, what countries surround Israel, Eduardo?
Well, Lebanon on the north, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, it's all those countries around us. But I just want to, when you were talking, I think about it. When people think 1,200 out of a population of less than 10 million, comparing to America, it's like 50,000 people. I mean, there's everybody knows somebody that
perished.
So the numbers are huge compared to the size of the population.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, the total population again is what in Israel?
10 million.
10 million. So it was a massive number, a percentage. And the reason I want that map up, and we don't have to leave it for a second, but what I want to say about it is, this isn't like that you're a really huge Dallas Cowboys fan, but your neighbor really liked the Redskins, and so you get mad during football season. This is a country that is surrounded by Muslim majority countries, and all those Muslim majority countries, they are Islamic. They are Islamic controlled. They follow Sharia to some degree. They follow Islamic teaching, and within Islamic teaching, within Sharia, within the Quran, is the endless attack on brutality about Israel, about Jews, and talking about the goal of many who are jihadists is just to kill Jews. Many people in these countries all around you, they want to eliminate the existence of Israel and kill all the Jews. And I'm not saying every person in those countries, there are probably people in those countries who don't, but that's where you're living. That's who you're surrounded by all the time.
Yes, but just as a first step, actually, they are willing to conquer all the world, and especially the Western society, which they don't value their values. I mean, they think that it's incompatible, the values they have with the value of the Christian, Western, or Jewish Christian society.
Absolutely. We've talked on the show and have many guests talking about what we use a term in America, the Islamization of Texas. In America, there is a massive increase Islamic culture in Texas, demands for all sorts of accommodation of Sharia. There's a recognition, in fact, imams around the country talk about Texas is the Mecca of America. They use that term. They talk about the idea that Islam has arrived in America with the mission of eventually taking down America's Judeo-Christian culture, our Constitution, and substituting Islam and Sharia. So it's a conquering ideology. Islam itself is a conquering ideology. But they're at least, we're not surrounded by them yet. Over here, we've got little oceans and distance. But I want to turn, so October 7th was horrific, and your family was there and had to live through that fear. You mentioned about going into a shelter. So you have, I think you told us, you have a shelter in your home.
Right, that's correct. A lot of people, in the last 20, 30 years, people that build houses, they have to build shelters, but, the population that live in apartments, they have public shelters, or the people that live in old houses, they don't have shelters, they have to go to public places. But it becomes a routine to go to the shelter, and it's not we take it as part of our life, but it's not.
It shouldn't be. Shouldn't have
It shouldn't
to be.
be, and for young kids, it's difficult. I mean, for young kids, I have 9 grandchildren, and for them, every time they have to go to a shelter, it becomes some, little bit of.
It reminds them that for nothing they've done wrong, there are people around them who would happily harm and kill them. I mean, you grow up. I didn't grow up thinking that in upstate New York. I just grew up, living life. The idea that you have to run because there are people right around the corner, right around your country, who always want. It's a different mindset. I'll remind you one thing, and then we can go to your slides. But so one time, Eduardo's daughter-in-law, who lives in Israel, Hamutal, joined me on the show remotely, and she was telling the story about the kids wanted to go to some beach, and she said, "We can't go to that beach because there's not a shelter close enough." Imagine as a consideration. No one here ever thinks about those kind of things. But
that was for months. That was the situation, or we couldn't have weddings during this month with more than 50 people because of security reasons, just in case we have to run to a shelter. We definitely have a long period of time, very complicated, but we believe in our truth, and we believe that in our mission of the state of Israel, and we are Zionists. We believe that the Jewish people should live in the state of Israel, in the land of Israel, and so we keep struggling. That's our life. It could be simpler to live in America, and it is simpler. Sometimes when I'm here with you guys, I say, "Wow, I envy you." It's kind of bad. Then I forget. Okay, but it is. My place is there.
Yeah, and it's interesting for people who complain about Zionism. You do hear some people talking about, well, Zionism, and why should the Jewish people have why they get their own country? Those same people never seem to complain about the somewhere between 51 to 57 Muslim-majority countries in this world who do not tolerate Christianity, do not tolerate Judaism. They only tolerate Islam, and somehow all of these, I'm going to call them what they are, anti-Semites who complain about Zionism never seem to have a thing to say about the Muslim-majority countries that literally brutalize women and do not allow the Christian population to exist or to be public in their worship. The same with the Jewish population. And at some point you don't get to say, well, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just against Zionism. You don't get to say that. This does not compute. If you are angry about Zionism and you don't like that one tiny New Jersey-sized area of land can have their own country for the Jews, but you're fine with all the Muslim-majority countries who are the perpetrators of terrorism, who are the source of the attacks and violent jihadist attacks and the civilization jihad happening in America. You don't have your head on straight. But we're going to go to slides. So Eduardo made slides, which we're going to share with you. And this is one reason I wanted to do this was to correct a lot of misconceptions spewing out of the mouth of some people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others. But I want to just talk about factual reality, data. So we got our first slide up, and Eduardo, these are your slides. So what do the green and the tan symbolize?
I think it's important to see how the demographic has changed in the Arab world. The green is how the Arab population grew in the Arab world, and the red is how the Jewish/Christian population declined in the Arab world. Okay,
So red is Jewish and green and...
The red is Jewish and Christian communities.
Okay.
They completely decline. And the green is the Arab population, and specifically what I'm showing is, there's a myth, the Arab myth about, that in Gaza, the population, there's a genocide, you heard about that, some people talk about that.
Yes.
Well, in 1980, there were less than 500,000 people in Gaza, and today, 45 years later, 45 years later, there are 2.1 million.
Okay,
so
wait.
so these are the numbers of the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics, not the Israeli number. These are the real numbers. So I don't know how someone can, even a rational person can mention that that the
alleged-
Palestinians are being killed if the population is growing in such a way.
Okay, wait. People, if you're watching this, I mean, some are just listening, but if you're watching this, take a screenshot of that. Gaza's population has more than quadrupled since 1980. These things matter. This is somebody that you hear out of the lying mouths of many people in the media that there's Gaza's being destroyed and the population in Gaza is being destroyed. We don't call them Palestinians for the reason we'll talk about in a moment. And are you able to, can you go backward on this clicker? Okay, can you go backward to the second slide? I'm letting my guest hold the clicker. It's amazing. Okay, so back to this one for just a moment. Two opposing, I want, again, take screenshots of these. Two opposing forces of regional, no, that's number one. Go to number two. Sorry.
Number two.
Okay. Trajectory A, exponential expansion. Over the last half century, Arab populations in specific concentrated territories, namely West Bank and Gaza, have experienced relentless, multifold population growth despite regional conflicts. That's the green on the left. On the right, in the red, trajectory B, systemic erasure. Over the exact same historical period, indigenous minority populations across the broader Arab world, specifically historic Jewish and Christian communities, have faced near total demographic collapse. I don't know if I can read all of them, but that's huge.
I think it's an important word is the indigenous. These are people that live in this part of the world for thousands of years, or hundreds of years, maybe 2,000 years, and they were Christian and Jews living in this area. The one who conquered all these Arab countries are the Muslims. These
Islam.
countries were original Christian with Jewish population. So it's a kind of a, when the myth that they were original, that's not true.
Right. Okay, so now you proceed on, so we did the next slide, which I really, really liked. To hit the next one, if you would, yeah. Gaza's population having.
This one?
We did Gaza's population. Population has more than quadrupled since 1980. Now we're on slide. Yeah, the one you're on. So go ahead and tell us about that slide.
Well, this is not only Gaza. You have the Arab population in the West Bank, which we call Judea and Samaria. And over there also you can see that the population grows dramatically. So all the claim that some people in the media in America have about that the Arab population under the Jewish influence of the Israeli state is being declined or annihilated, whatever, is not true. Simple, not true. All the data and the data is from in this case, regarding the West Bank, is from the U.S. Census Bureau, and the previous one was from the Palestinian authorities, the numbers. So these are the numbers. The population has dramatically grows in those parts of the world.
So great, okay.
Now, and this is, what I'm showing here is what happened with the Christian population in Israel.
Okay, I want to read the title, The Rapid Disappearance of Indigenous Christian Communities, starting from mid-20th century down to today. So now go ahead.
Yeah, as you can see, Lebanon still it's a strong Christian population with about 30%, but it was at the beginning of 20th century majority Christian. Now it's now one-third Christian. And then in the Palestinian territories, it used to be between 15 and 18%, and now there are only 1 or 2%, meaning the Christian living under the Muslims left.
Okay, Palestinian territories refers to both Gaza and West Bank and all that?
I don't have the split into those numbers. The Palestinian territory in this case is Gaza and West Bank together.
Okay.
And then we can see that in Syria, that also was a huge Christian community, between 10-15%, and today they declined to 2-3%. It's a decline of 70 or 85%, what it used to be, and the same in Iraq. So what we can see is, despite some people that claim differently, people don't leave country if they have good life in their country. They live in their country because there is risk for their existence, mainly Christian communities. And that's what happened to them during the 20th century and the beginning of 21st century, 41st century.
So this is saying, just again, before we get off that one, mid-20th century peak. So mid-20th century
It's
is like
1948.
1950. Okay.
1950, yeah.
Okay. And so just a little, pick one little number. Lebanon had between 55 and 60% of the population of indigenous Christian communities, and it's down to 30 to 35, and that's the biggest in that, at least in this graph. Palestinians, 15 to 18% in 1950. Today, down to 1 to 2% are Christian communities. Summary is Christian communities are being driven out of Islamic-controlled countries. Christian communities are diminishing. They either are being killed or they move away.
Right.
Right? Or they die.
They don't feel they can stay in their.
And can't be safe.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to go back to.
Oh, how do we
There
go?
we go. Okay.
Now, something that people don't talk so much, which is, we talk a lot about the Palestinian refugees, okay? But in parallel, at the same time, 99.5% of the Jews that used to live in Arab countries since Christ,
Yes.
they were kicked off in 1948, the large majority, and some left till 1970, and that's it, it's gone. The Jewish community was completely erased from the Arab world, and the number of Jewish people they have to leave immediately and leave all their belongings and in 48 hours, it's larger than the number of Arabs that suffer and became the refugees. And the big story is that while the Jews in Israel, the Israelis, accept their brothers and try to help them, they come without nothing, and the country was very, very poor, but have to, try to keep them and help them to get into normal life. The Arabs, what they did to their brothers, to their Arab brothers from the Palestinian territories, what they did to them was close them in concentration camps, and that's it. And they create, through the UNRWA, to the United Nations organization that will not solve their problem, they will keep forever a refugee problem. While the rest of the refugees in the world have other agency, which is you are refugee first generation, and then you become a citizen of the country where you live. The Arabs did something completely different. The people that live they were in camps in Jordan, or in Egypt, or in Lebanon, they keep them in camp generation by generation. That's the reason that we have right now 5 million people, maybe, I don't know the number is correct, but at the beginning we were only 600,000.
Okay, to be sure, and I believe I'm following you, but a lot of this, when we had dinner, we had dinner with some friends last night and the previous night, so we're all learning so much. I want to be sure there's one thing you're saying when the Arabs had people who were Arab refugees, who were Arabic background, and for whatever reason they're being driven out, their own people, the other fellow Arabs, put them in camps,
right,
rather than absorb them in the population. Israel absorbed the Jews from wherever they were in the world into their population. That's
exactly
correct? Okay.
That's correct. And in order that not to solve the humanitarian problem of the Arabs, they create in the United Nations a specific organization which is called UNRWA, which I think President Trump stopped supporting them, which instead of solving the problem of these refugees, they keep having it forever and forever and forever.
To continue to have a reason to attack and criticize Israel and the Jews.
Exactly.
That exactly set up. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. I got to read this text, but
I do have more. This gives in numbers. In Morocco there were 265,000 Jews today. 2000 Algeria, they've completed 140,000 Jews. The community was disappeared. The same only in Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen. You can see this. This is like the Nazis said without Jews people in this part of the world. That's what the Arabs did. They throw all the Jews from that part of the world, despite that the Jews live in their Muslim country for 2,000 years,
Centuries, yeah.
1,000 years.
Okay. One thing, someone was just sending me a text. I appreciate that. Does this relate to this, Eric, a previous slide here? I'm trying to, but the point being made is a lot of the talk right now, and I want to take a little break here. I want to talk about why we don't call them the Palestinian people, and I want to talk about this point that someone's texting me, which is the idea that people talking about, well, all this data you're looking at right now, this is historic, and it is accurate and it's historic, but a lot of what people are claiming is occurring in Gaza right now happened in this year we're in right now, 2026, and the data, much of this data ends in 2025. So someone, Tucker Carlson's of the world, or other people who just endlessly look for reasons to criticize, they spread anti-Semitism and defend Islam. There are facts about that we should talk about right now, and they do, to start with, there is, of course, an ongoing war. I mean, Israel was responding to what happened to them on October 7th and going back into the Gaza area and trying to clean out Hamas. But I want me to talk about, I assume you know because you're over there, but Israel is just trying, they're hit by Hamas. Israel, October 3rd, Hamas attacks, hits Israel. You're defending yourself. You're trying to stop these people from doing that again, and to make sure they understand they can't do that again. But the argument is made by anti-Semites. Argument is made that Israel is overreacting. That you just went out of your way to go into Gaza and try to just wipe out everybody. Talk about how careful IDF really is.
I will address that, but before that, I have one slide that I want to share.
Okay.
One more slide. Okay, this is summarizing what I just said, but the additionals, which I think is important to see, is like there is no genocide of the Arab people by Israel. You see, they grow dramatically, and these numbers are the end of 2025, okay? And these are based on the Palestinian organization numbers. Now, and the Jewish people and the Christian indigenous people have dramatically declined. And just, again...
Wait, go back to that. I want, because you know what? For people who are, we're looking at these slides, but I want to make sure...
It's a summary of what we discussed before.
Yeah, but it's really important. For 75 years of the term that Eduardo is using as regional recomposition, Gaza Strip growth, population growth between 1980 and 2025, it's up 363%, and the West Bank growth or that Israelis call Judea and Samaria, but West Bank growth is up 281% between 1980 and 2025. And then the opposite of that is occurring with respect to the Jewish population in the Arab world. So down the total Arab world Jewish decline from 1948 till present, down 99.5%, and then Levant and Iraq indigenous Christian decline. So that other region, the indigenous Christian decline is mid-century to present, so basically 1950 till now, down 70 to 90%. Making the point, in case you're wondering why we're looking at these numbers, because everything you hear from the media about how the Gaza population or the Islamic population in the West Bank is being unduly attacked and diminished, or there's some kind of a massive annihilation going on. No connection to reality. Now, I want to talk though about. Go ahead.
One more, and then we
okay.
move. Yeah, no, because I think it's important.
It's all right. It's right.
Where is the slide?
Sure.
Okay, this show, it's important. This is showing what happened with the Christian population in Israel, as you can see.
Christian population in
Israel. You can see that while in the Arab world is diminishing, in Israel is growing. Which, some people claim that if the situation in Israel wasn't good, they will be leaving. So then this talk by itself, there's no discussion that you can have if you don't have numbers. These are the numbers.
Yes, sir.
So which means that the Christian people are in Israel the people is growing, and the percentage remains the same, despite the big immigration of Jewish people in to Israel, would happen. Right now, Israel is probably is the largest, more than 50% of Jewish people live in Israel, but still New York is the largest Jewish city. 2 million people live in New York.
City,
And Israel,
okay,
city, we don't have such a big city. So, but I think it's important because it's balanced. It's not only what happened with the Christians communities in the Arab world, but it's also in parallel showing what's happening with the Christian communities in Israel.
Okay, and it's fabulous to see. Again, just counter to the narrative everybody hears. So for this Christian population of Israel, your point you're saying is they remain 1.8 to 2% of the population, but absolute number is growing and growing as the population of Israel grows. And did you just say about 50% of the world's Jewish people live in Israel?
Right now, yes, even more than that.
Yeah. And the ones I'm telling you, the huge population in New York City, they better start getting worried about Zohran Mamdani, that mayor there, who's just well, okay, I'm going to launch on him a little while. We're not going to get to him yet, but he's a huge problem. But now I want to address one other point about this.
We still have I owe you the answer regarding Gaza.
Right. Gaza I want to talk about, and why don't you call these people Palestinians? But talk about Gaza. What is IDF doing in Gaza? They just...
I have one more slide.
Okay. You like your slides, don't you? He wants the slides.
Yeah, because it's with information. I think it's important that we have. It's important that when we discuss things or when we talk about things, we have facts that we know and we can trust. Okay, and so I think it's important. I think that in the image, in the picture, not the words, you see actually the base of the conflict. The terrorists, they hide behind their civil population. They use the human as human shields, okay? While the Israeli soldier, defend...
He's protecting
protecting the human, the population. So that's basic, and I think it's so in a way, just other number is not here. Do you know how many miles of tunnels have the Hamas built under Gaza?
So how many what they built?
Miles. Like you have the subway in your city, you have hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
So probably what have been discovered, maybe this is more, is 500 miles of tunnels. So they built all these tunnels under schools, under hospital, under mosque, under where civilian people live, and they attack Israel. They send their missiles to Israel from these locations. So the challenge that Israel has fighting Hamas in Gaza, where they fight. They are smart. They're trying to say they know that they because they don't care about their human casualties. If someone died for jihad, if he died for jihad, he will go to heaven. So they don't. And if you listen to the mothers of the children or the soldier or the terrorists, they are proud that their children are martyrs. So when you have on the other side a culture that really I would say the right word is love, but then they think that to die and to kill it's proper. It's very, very, very difficult for a Western liberal or democratic country to fight against them. But nevertheless, I think that Israel is doing the utmost that you can do in order to minimize the damage to the civilian people. Now, let's also understand, the Hamas has the support of 75% or maybe more percentage of their people, and they all are Hamas members in one way or another.
People, the residents of Gaza.
Yeah. So it's not like innocent people that were kidnapped but still, and we know that if we compare any previous combat or war in which the Western countries have to deal with terrorists or with armies which are around civilians, which, by the way, it's against the law. I mean, they shouldn't be doing this. But Israel is sending WhatsApp and paper message to the people to evacuate, give them food. Israel have been feeding, despite all the media fake news, Israel have been feeding and giving water and electricity to the people in Gaza. I mean, these people live because Israel actually is supplying them all these things.
Sustains their existence. Water,
water, food, and electricity, power.
And that's coming from Israel, even though, into Gaza, for Gaza residents, even though Muslims support Hamas, and Hamas is the one attacking Israel. And that kind of stuff is just staggering. I don't know many countries that would. You would use it as a tactic to bring down Hamas, but it is amazing, amazing.
Yeah, it will be, I mean, how many days you can be without water?
Many,
you can stop everything, but we know that Hamas has the water for their terrorists, so they will let the people die.
Exactly.
So
let the people die.
And Israel cannot do this, something like this. So we never did it. Even all even when we have they kidnap about 250
on October 7th.
on October 7th, and even though it was, if they didn't feed our people, we shouldn't feed them, but we keep feeding them. I mean, it's kind of it's no matter. So I will summarize that we feel that we are doing the utmost that we can do in order not to hurt civilian population. Despite that, casualties happen, problems happen. It's war. It's not a game. It's dangerous, but the alternative is terrible for us. We want to end the war. We know we want no more war.
Yep.
We don't want more, and but we have to finish the war, not to arrive to ceasefire that
they'll break.
we'll have another war in the next decade.
Yeah, that's the problem really Israel has dealing with all the countries surrounding it is they may say, okay, ceasefire because they're out of weapons, because they need to replenish, but nothing in your ability to negotiate, you can't cause them to step back and say, okay, we abandon our Islamic conquest mission. I mean, you can't, it's innate in the minds and hearts of many followers of Islam, which is we are compelled to, we're taught to attack the Jews and to destroy Israel. So it's very hard you can get to them and say, okay, well, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to stop shooting our guns. But it's a bigger thing. They need to lay down that core tenet of Islam.
I think, that in a way, the Islamic jihading people don't see us, neither you, us in general, Western people, as people. We are like second-class or third-class citizens, or no citizen people. Now, I think that the solution to the Middle East problem and to the world problem with Islam, it will arrive when they will start seeing their women and their children also human beings, because they not only kill Jews or Christians, they kill their women, their children, their daughters, they kill among themselves. It's kind of a religion that thinks that they have the solution and they have to arrive to a solution controlling whether you run away or you convert or you die, but there is no option.
Right. I'm going to get to the question next. I want to talk about one of the things that enables the myths about the Palestinians go on is because of this term Palestinian and how they refer to the Gazans as Palestinian people. I want to get to that in a second. I do want to remind our listeners something. I recommended a movie to you, and if you have not yet watched it, there's a movie that stars Sally Field years and years ago. It's called Not Without My Daughter. I can't urge you strongly enough to watch that movie because it's a true story. She's depicting a true story of an American woman who married a gentleman who had grown up in Iran, was Muslim, came to America, go to medical school, became a doctor, stayed here. He marries her. She's a very American. She's Caucasian American, and he's Iranian Muslim. But they live for a while here, and they've got a child, a 5-year-old girl or something like that. I think she was 5 when that. But anyway, what happened in that story very quickly is the husband said he really just wanted to bring the wife and daughter over to Iran to meet the family, see the baby, and just stay for 2 weeks. And she realizes after they're there, the husband never intends to let her leave again. And the thing is, it's a very accurate depiction of Iran, the life under the mullahs in Iran. And this woman does eventually escape. Not to ruin the punchline, but moving the plot, because it's worth watching because it's so realistic. The woman to whom that occurred actually wanted this story told. She established in America a charity to help other women, other American Christian women who got deluded into marrying someone and going to Iran, and they're trapped. They can never get out. And I urge that because I think that part of what the American people waking up to what's happening here, the civilization jihad happening here, is realizing there are women in this era. We're not talking about 1,000 years ago in the darkness. We're talking about modern people living in Iran as though women who are living as though they are property. They are chattel. They can be beaten. They get stopped by the police in the street if their hair isn't covered. This is like, you think that's the dark ages. It's right now. And I think it helps people to wake up and realize how serious the situation is. Now I want to make that pitch.
One of the funny things is to see here in America, in the universities, all these gay and the loneliness.
Gays for Gaza.
Yeah, and I think if they would be in Gaza, they will be killed. I mean, they have no clue about what they are doing or representing. Right. I mean, it
is astonishing. Gays for Gaza. Yeah, it's just like because they'd be thrown off buildings or otherwise killed. They tolerate nothing of that in Islam. Okay, so this is another term I've covered this many times on my show before. But why is it incorrect to call the people who are residents of Gaza? Why don't we call them the Palestinian people?
Well, this is for the last since the 70s, which is now 50-something years. The people, the Arab that live in Israel, start calling themselves Palestinians, and the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was founded in 1965, before the 6-Day War, before Israel controlled Gaza or liberated Gaza and Judea and Samaria. So the issue was never about territories because they created themselves before. But the PLO, you can watch interviews of leaders of the PLO in the early 70s, and they say there's not just a single Palestinian people. We call Palestinian because this area is called Palestine.
Geography is.
And I will explain later on additional point. But we are Arabs. There is no difference between Arabs in Jordan, Arabs in Lebanon, Arabs in Syria, Arabs in Egypt. We are all Arabs. And there was, at that moment, if you remember, there was Nasser, there was the Pan-Arabic movement to create a big Pan-Arabic country, because the countries, like we know them today, is a result of European perception of the world. After the World War II, the Middle East was created different countries. So it never exists till the 70s, the word Palestinian people. Now, the most funny part is that if you talk with a so-called Palestinian in Israel, they cannot say Palestinian, they say Palestinian, because they don't have a P in their language. And Palestine was the name that the Roman gave to Judea and Samaria when they conquered Judea. At that moment, we have the kingdom of Judea. When they conquered Judea, and they took out to exile all the Jewish people, and they want to rename the name so we will never come back here.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the idea, and they used the label. There was an old people, Filisteos, in Spanish, I don't know how, Philistine in Hebrew, I don't know how you say it in English, but there was that people, because David fight against Samson, how do you call that big guy that?
Yeah.
So he was
Samson.
Philistine. He was Philistine. So this kind of that's the source of the name, which they now it became. Now it's interesting that the people think about the Palestinian people, and they say, well, just take any encyclopedia, till the late 60s, they didn't exist. It's a creation in order to link the Palestinian link the Zionism to colonialism.
Right.
Okay, so they are the original, they claim, which is not true.
Yeah. The reason it's so important, because I think there is, with this, sadly, a tool that the left always uses in many, many contexts is to define a victim and to give them an identity. Well, this group is victimized, and it's a race, ethnicity, a skin color, national origin. They always try to create a victim class and then cause those people to be resentful of others and encourage people to vote for the left because we're standing up for this group, this group. The Palestinian term is being used to manipulate ignorant people. There is no Palestinian ethnicity. You may be Arab overall, you may be of Jordanian background or Egyptian or Syrian, you may have ancestors in those countries, but Palestinian as a nationality is a made-up thing, and it's not made up just out of convenience. It's out of manipulation. It's to make people begin to feel like, well, why can't the Palestinians have Palestine back, as though it was their land? It's like giving back Italy to the Italians. That's not what it is. It's an entirely concocted name for a group designed to manipulate people. And it's just really important to understand that, because you have all these young people in college campuses running around with, supporting the Palestinians and free Palestine, and they don't know what they're talking about.
When they say from the river to the sea, it's actually all Israel, zero.
Yeah,
I mean,
say
these
that
people
again.
are,
The chant, from the river to the sea, means?
Palestinians shall be free, meaning they zero Israel. It's not
Destroy
only
Israel.
It's not only Judea and Samaria, or the Western territory. It's not only Gaza. It's Tel Aviv. It's Haifa. It's all Israel.
Okay, what's the river?
River, the Jordan River.
The Jordan River to the sea is?
Mediterranean Sea.
Okay, so what they're talking about, we don't have to map up again, but that river to the sea, honestly, you see videos of kids in Islamic schools in America singing that, as though they're singing the way we might sing the national anthem. They're singing from the river to the sea. It is teaching young children to think of the country of Israel as the Jewish people living in Israel should be completely destroyed. They are teaching young children to the concept that to do the right thing, you should destroy Israel. Okay, we have 6 minutes left, and first of all, thank you for creating those slides. They were truly great. I'm going to use them often in my show going forward. They're great slides, so thank you for that.
Copyright.
I have to
We'll
give
talk about that. It took me 2 hours. I mean, there is all the information. I had it. I knew most of the data. I just wanted to validate that I'm giving the right information, because I think that the conflict between the Jewish people in Israel and the Arab world is very simple to understand if you have the data. If you are about narrative, then it's another story, because you don't care about the fact. But you have the facts talk very clearly. There's a beautiful book written by Mark Twain in the 19th century. He visited the Holy Land, and he explained what he see very, very clearly. Jerusalem was a city where the majority was Jewish people. No, not 20%, no, majority. And the land of Israel was completely isolated. There was no people over there. So he said it's amazing how the Holy Land is waiting for the Jewish people to come back. Okay, so the Arab population that exists in Israel today if you look their backgrounds, they're coming from Iraq, they're coming from Egypt, they're coming from Syria, they're family, and they moved there because the Jewish people were creating the stronger economy, and the English in 1918 started building the railroad, and there was more work. Some people looking for work come to live over there. It doesn't mean that there were no Arab people that lived there for a few thousand years or for a few hundred of years. It could be thousands because the Muslim, Muhammad was in the year 600 something, so it could be only 1300. But so it's the problem exists is because from a Muslim point of view, Israel was once under Islam control, and from a theological point of view, is something that was under your control. It should always be under your control. By the way, the same is for some part of Eastern Europe and from some part of Spain. I mean,
Right.
they don't see Israel different than these places, because those places were under the Islam control.
Yeah,
So
Islam teaches once they have controlled any land, it is always theirs, and if they ever lose control of it, their job is to get it back. They never concede some other faith or ethnic group could own it.
and the rest, which they didn't control, they shall control.
Yeah.
So it's 100% or nothing.
Oh, it is. And this is just amazing timing. So for our listeners, I'll tell you, if you didn't tune in the beginning, this is our family friend, longtime business partner of my husband's, Eduardo Shoval, visiting in the U.S., and he's been here for business reasons. He and my husband are business partners. He's got also one of his children temporarily living in New York City, so he's visited him. He's really, but I decided to do a show around this because I talk about Israel a lot in the show, and I talk about understanding the threat of Islam in America and in Texas, and understanding the mission of Islam is never ever to assimilate, to allow equal respect for other religions. It's always about conquering, and Israel lives that. I mean, Israel's history and up till today lives that, surrounded by Islamic majority countries who simply cannot get their arms around or embrace the idea that Israel and the Jewish people have a right to have a piece of land that is theirs. It is the most staggering, and it's bad enough that they think that, but there's been in America a great deal of just propaganda that has become successful in different pockets in America. Especially young people are just talking away about the idea. They stand up for the Palestinian people. No idea what they're talking about, and they're really endangering the innocent Jewish people who are trying just to defend their country. So with that, we have about a minute. Any last things you want to say, Mr. Shoval?
Well, on Saturday night, Argentina is playing Jordan, and vamos Argentina.
Okay, so with that,
I have a normal life. It's not only the conflict; it's also enjoying soccer or football.
enjoy soccer, enjoy the World Cup. First of all, I'm so glad that you're amenable to doing this. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Love having Eduardo here, and we're going to sign off on this show. I do want to remind you some quick things. If you're listening to us on Twitter, please follow me at Debbie Can We Talk, DEBBIE at Debbie Can We Talk. Our show is also on Rumble, of course, America Can We Talk. We have a great Substack, and we are adding to it all the time. So the Substack is also America Can We Talk. Love to have you do that. Our Facebook page is America Can We Talk. We love to have you share, follow, just join. And I always say I do this show to just inspire the American political conversation, to speak up for America, to understand America's unique greatness, our place in the world, and of course, our America's dearest ally in the Middle East and the whole world is Israel. So it's just an honor that I was able to have a show today with Eduardo Shoval joining me. Just a great fit perfectly in the show. And so with that, we're about to wrap up. I want to thank you for tuning in to America Can We Talk. My name is Debbie-Georgatos. The show is called America Can We Talk. You can find it online at americacanwetalk.org. I do the show to speak truth about America because America matters. And I will talk to you next time. Thank you.
Can you hear us now?
America, Can We Talk? Truth about America.
Can you